Hey guys, good morning. Hope everything was well for you yesterday and it'll be good for you today. To all my New York City people out here, out there, you know, majority of us take public transportation, okay? Most of us choose not to drive because we have accessibility to public transportation, or some of us can't drive for personal reasons. I'm one of those people that can't drive. I can't drive because I have PTSD and anxiety. So I choose to use public transportation. Now, here's the thing. I'm bringing this up because a couple of days ago, I mentioned the Brooklyn subway shooter, who was a YouTuber who went by Prophet of Truth 88. I remember him back in the 2014, 2015, 2016 era. And he used to harass a person named Harvey, Superboy223, who still has his YouTube channel and is titled Your World. And if you notice, I didn't start the video with any sound effects because this is going to be a serious commentary. We know that the man did what he did. He basically admitted to it. He confessed he had a series of mental illness issues. He was basically angry about the world, but he also harassed people who were black on the internet. And what he did, Harvey Superboy had basically contacted YouTube to warn people, not of that particular incident, but of the harassment that he was doing to multiple YouTubers. The last person that he was going at it with was Hassan Campbell. And then a couple of months he disappeared. But he mentioned that if he didn't get Hassan Campbell for talking about children in a horrible way, and children as in children who are prepubescent, then a bunch of gang members were going to get him. So it's sort of like he predicted what's going on with Hassan. Now, it's a weird thing. But anyway, this man shot up a subway car. And it seems as though everyone who was a victim is alive. They're just going to go through the process of treatment. I wish them a speedy recovery. And the man will never see the light of freedom. He will never see it. More than likely, he's going to go into a mental health institution. But this could have been prevented if he would have gotten the help that was needed. And he himself would have been around people who would have gave him the real, like, listen, you need to get a reality check, bro. Because what you're doing is not cool. And you're putting yourself in harm's way to not just be harmed, but also to commit harm if you lash out. A lot of people don't know. People who commit these kind of crimes, they do it because they've been browbeaten down by the system and things don't work out, and then they lash out. It's like a typical super villain movie. I kid you not. Or a movie that involves a super villain. You know, it's like a Spider-Man type movie. You know, and I love my superhero films, so I could tell you that a lot of times those super villains, they start out like that, but they're very smart. And I believe that the Brooklyn subway shooter was a very smart man, but he had an anger issue because he dealt with like systematic oppression and he didn't get the help that was needed. But I also think he had a hatred for being black because he would go from 1 minute being kind to black people, wanting to build with black people. Next thing you know, he was talking about black people deserve to be killed. Black people deserve to be harmed. But the one thing he never mentioned really in his videos, he never talked about religion. He never really spoke about, from the videos that I caught up, he never said that he was pro-life. He was just talking about certain events that was going on in the world. But he wasn't a patriot. He wasn't a radical leftist. He was just an angry man. Okay? And why I'm speaking about this is because it leads me to what I'm going to be talking about. So this is going to be the other half of the commentary. So I was on my little Instagram account. I don't go on Instagram and post. I haven't posted in 3 years. I have a personal reason why. But what I decided to do was I go on Instagram and I comment on public pages, and I comment on a lot of videos that deals with culture, music. Also, I love cats and puppies. I know it's weird I said that. It was one of the things that got me through quarantine time. I also like to visit the fashion pages on Instagram. I'm not really into the makeup anymore like I was pre-quarantine because of wearing a mask. It doesn't make sense, really. And also, I like to look up the pages that deal with careers. So I follow quite a few people, and some people still follow me, and I get a lot of requests to follow people back, but I'm not still there after what I've been through the past, I would say 18 months, or you could say 2 years. I would say 2 years. So I'm not still my complete self. So that's another topic in another video, and I'm going to go and do a live on that. I'm just bouncing back to give you a gist of everything about the Instagram page. So timeline, what happened was there was a timeline that popped up about a particular person who was really popular on YouTube 2 years ago. And her name is Bevelyn Beatty. I thought it was pronounced Beatty, but like Warren Beatty, but she pronounces that Beatty. So she's been on Instagram for a long time, and I follow her on Instagram. Now, I will say this. Bevelyn Betty is a controversial person. She's a controversial person because of what she did when she was in New York and poured the black pink over Black Lives Matter. I have my issues with Black Lives Matter, and because I'm pro-life and she's pro-life, and she was talking about, save the babies, going to the abortion clinics and trying to save the babies. I was down with that. I thought that was powerful. Now, I first came across her on Vice, and I really liked what I heard. Now, her tone was aggressive, but to me, I think she presented herself much better on Vice because she pretty much presented herself as a round the way girl who was hood, that was a Trump supporter. I know it was funny, but the things that she was saying as to why she became a Trump supporter, I was like, okay, I get it. Now, I didn't vote for Trump, okay? This was going back in 2018, late 2018. So she said what she had to say. And so I was like, okay, I understand her points. And she was checking them liberals left and right. So when I came across her Instagram page and her YouTube channel, I became a follower of her Instagram page. And I would like the video. I would like what she would say. And I would comment on a couple of them. But I wasn't as engaging as I would have been because of what I was personally going through at the time. I was just trying to keep a low profile on Instagram. So months pass and she blows up. She becomes huge. And then the insurrection happens. And then throughout the months, like leading up to the insurrection, for a whole year, she was talking to the person who's now her husband. So they got married. They met in person. They were supposed to meet during the insurrection day, January 6th, but they ended up meeting instead in February, early February. They instantly was physically dating, and then they got married in June. And somewhere around August, September, she got pregnant, so she's pregnant now. Now, I mention all of this because she and her husband, mainly her husband, have created the Kingdom Conservative Party, which is a political party that's not just conservative, but is focuses on the kingdom of Christ and the kingdom of God. But it's also mixed in with early American history, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. It's a lot. Now, that I have my criticism, a lot of criticism with the KCP. I mentioned this a couple of months ago. Shout out to Pharaoh Speaks. Shout out to Eric Johnson, 1994. Shout out to all the YouTubers that have known about my criticisms with the KCP. I have a problem with Conan conservatism. I can't stand it. And we as Black people, when we do it, we're doing it because we either hate our people as a whole, or we see a big opportunity if we throw our people under the bus. So, with the Kingdom Conservative Party, I guess they've realized that with the reparations movement going strong, shout out to FBA, shout out to ADOS, they're seeing that people are talking about reparations. So in the KCP party, they use words like abolitionist. They use words such as reformist. They use words as being pro-life. But they say that race, they're anti-CRT. They don't believe that racism can hold Black people behind. But what they are abolitioning is abortion being legal. So to tie back into the Brooklyn subway shooter, the picture that Bevelyn had on her Instagram page, and this was because it was videos. Hold on, let me see. Basically, on her Instagram page, because I follow her, she had pictures of people from the KCP party. So I'm like, I don't have nothing against the candidates. I want to make that clear. I don't have anything personally against Bevelyn Betty. I want to make that clear. But I had to remove myself from really being on her page a lot, because I felt that the message that she was promoting when she started out, when her husband and her got married, that's when the big switch came. So she's pregnant, she's having a baby soon, and I visited her page. What came on her timeline was pictures of the massacre. Now, this is what made me very, 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 very angry. Because she said that New York City needed to repent because of killing babies in the womb and abortion being legal. So she says you can't kill babies in the womb and not expect to see death in the streets. You can't continue to push Sodom and Gomorrah in your culture and not expect the wages of sin to be death. There's so much more detail to what actually happened here in New York. But I'm going to tell you right now, it all boils down to a spiritual element of consequences. We knew this would happen, and that is why we moved out of New York City. That's in reference to her husband. The Lord has called us out. We are not called to be casualties in this season. But as I said, this is a season of reaping. We are reaping what we have sown. If you have sown tares, poison, you will reap. If you have sown wheat, there will be a great harvest of wheat for you. make sure you know where you are at with Christ in this hour, that you are listening to him, submitted to him, and doing his will, because this is no joke. And I expect things to get worse. And even if it was a false flag, just know it was real bloodshed. So she's basically saying that doing things against the book, doing things against the Most High, brought this on our city. The Brooklyn subway shooter Frank James did this and committed this. The energy that he basically carried came from abortion and Sodom and Gomorrah, which is code word for LGBTQ. Now, Frank James, Prophet of Truth 88, Brooklyn subway shooter, was not doing this because he was caught up in the spirit of abortion or LGBTQ. He did it because he had a gripe with his own life. He really, if anybody he would have gotten, it would have been Hassan Campbell. Okay? Let's call that out. All right? Now, the reason why I'm going soft is because she's pregnant. So I didn't even want to talk about this because I'm a person that I don't want to go hard as I could. I don't want to have this audio go out and then she'll say, or how people say, oh, you got people coming at you and you pregnant, and they going hard over what you said about the Brooklyn subway shooting. And I really debated over this. But then something said, you live in the city. You take public transportation. You take the subway at times. You mostly take the bus. You have family that take the subway. You have family that travel across bridges. You have family that work in the city. How dare somebody make mockery of what happened and say that committing abortion and abortion being legal brought that on my city. LGBTQ policies brought that on my city. The ways brought that on my city. How can somebody make those statements about abortion who aborted 3 babies, who had 3 abortions, and has said this? Okay? What if no one on that train ever had an abortion? Then why would they get caught up in that? Because abortion is legal in New York. The logic of what Bevel and Betty is saying pretty much is that if you partook in the Roe v. Wade activities of having abortion, more than likely you would basically be caught up in something like that. So this is a woman who had 3 abortions. One that her father took her to the abortion clinic. The second and third, it was her choice. She had another abortion, her last abortion, when she was married, according to her old video she had on her previous channel. You mean to tell me that because you're washed in the blood of Christ, you're exempt from being harmed because you moved out of New York? But people that still live here, we got to deal with this. I've never had an abortion. I shouldn't have to go through that. Why should I have to suffer because of abortion being illegal? Abortion is illegal all over the United States of America. How ignorant can you be, woman? All over the United States of America, abortion is legal. Yes, there are states that want to basically appeal it. I know Oklahoma is the first that's going to appeal it to where abortion is going to be illegal, unless it's like circumstantial, unless you were a victim of incest or the R word. But still, if someone wants to go through the process of getting abortion like you did when you were somewhat of age, it is what it is. I'm pro-life, but I'm not pro-birth. We have to stop with the politics and religion being fused together. And we got to watch out for people that do this. Now, I'm going to say this. Frank R. James, he's away. He'll have his trial probably next year. Or if he may plead guilty, he's locked away, whatever. The people that were harmed, they got to live with this. But what they don't need to deal with, they don't need to deal with people who think like Beverly Betty and her husband. Now, her husband, his name is Ricky Williams, because Beverly now goes by Beverly Williams. I believe that her husband is, I have gotten not just a bad vibe from him, but on his Facebook page, the way he disrespects and calls women dogs and says things like, you are even beneath the vomit, it was bad. Like, one day I will find it. It's in my folder. I will read to you what this man said. It is deplorable how he talks to women. I believe that he's using Beverly to come up in the political world, because the KCP party, Kingdom Conservative Party, is chaired by him. Even though Beverly is doing a lot of work, talking with the candidates, belly full, nose broad, gained a lot of weight, and she should be on bed rest because she has a weak cervix after having 3 abortions. She's a high-risk pregnancy. This man, I believe, used her to come up and Svengali'd her because he knew that she had something going on that was really great. And he didn't have name recognition. The man lived in a cult. More than likely, the cult was 12 tribes, not the Hebrew Israelites. But his cult story is very bizarre. Just visit the KCP biography page, and then you will understand what I'm talking about. But I'm going to close this by saying this. I live in the city. I love New York. Is it the New York that I grew up in the 80s and early 90s, mid 90s? No. But I will say that in the 20th century, New York was popping. Will we ever have New York like we did in the 20th century? I don't know. It seemed like they were trying to do that, bring it back to how it was pre-drug era, but the gentrification and the overpricing of New York pretty much ruined it. But our city is still number one. There are people that still want to live in the city. We still have 8 million people that live in the city. So all the people that left the city, a lot of times they left because maybe they found stuff better for them, or they left because they couldn't hang, or they left because they couldn't afford it. It's different reasons, but don't use a situation like this where people survive to make it a reason why you, quote unquote, got the hell up out of there. Because I always say this, you may think that running away is going to solve all your problems and living down south amongst all those white people. But baby, just remember one thing only. Old Dixie is still alive and well, particularly in Tennessee. That's the home of Jack Daniels, and that's the home of Nathan Forrest. Okay? One of the founders of the KKK. All right? One of the people that was into white supremacy, founded it. The lynchings, the terrorism that was going on after the Civil War. You in a state that's landlocked to where if they deem that you dangerous, they will come after you and get you. All you gotta do is ask K. Michelle. She's talked about it. She from Tennessee. Okay? Beautiful state. But let's be real. Has a history of witchcraft, sacrificing black people. You could read writings about Ida B. Wells and her experiences of it. So you left to go to a notorious racist state like Tennessee. And you didn't go to black Tennessee. You went to white Tennessee, more than likely. But you saying that New York is bad? You got a history of moving around, Beverly. You got a history of moving around a lot. I wonder why. You know? But more importantly, focus on having a healthy and successful delivery. And make sure that your baby is safe, alive. I mean, not alive. Baby is safe and well and really is protected by the Most High. And when you spot danger, real danger, keep your eyes open and look out for it and run. Because homegirl, like I said, and I'll say it again, I keep it real, I pick up bad vibes from your husband. That's all I'm going to say. So we protecting ourselves in New York City. Just like other people protecting themselves in their states. But you need to look at what's surrounding you and make sure you good where you at. That's all, because like I said, something about Ricky Williams ain't kosher. And you may not even know the true story behind that cult that he was living in. Because I believe that someone could have sent him to basically put you in a trick bag. Because people have been after you to get you and bring you down. And the best way they can do it is to bring a man around. And with that being said, I am signing off. Thank you for listening to this late night, early morning commentary. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon to give you the latest topics and discussions. Good night.